Hello, everybody, and welcome to Talking Nerdly, the official podcast of nerdly.co.uk. This is going to be a 2 to 3 weekly show that myself and the commander-in-chief over at nerdly.co.uk, Mr. Phil Wheat, who you can see is with me tonight.
Hello.
We met each other face-to-face like a good couple of years ago and talked for like 20 seconds, but we are actually getting to do voice talk now.
Yeah.
So this will be a 2 to 3 weekly show where a couple of nerdly dudes are going to talk some nerdly shit about nerdly shit. If you're watching, please do like, subscribe, hit all those notifications. It will also be audio based once I get all that set up, so it will be on your podcatching apps as well. But right now we are just kind of video based, which is fine because you get to see our beautiful, beautiful faces. And as always, my name is Kevin Halden. I will be one of your humble hosts, and you'll normally see my videos, the Nerdly Out Loud videos, on the channel. So check all those reviews out and everything. And Phil does all the writing stuff because I'm not a typer. I'm not like that. I'm not built that way. But Phil is joining me to host the Talking Nerdly podcast, which is awesome. So, how are you tonight, my man?
I'm good. Like you say, I do all the writing, you see, because I don't like doing the talking. So you should do, you do all the talking. I'll just like nod my head, like, yep.
You see, that's not going to work. That's not going to work on a podcast kind of thing, especially when we get to the Frightfest section, because that's going to be your baby. So we will get onto that. But so what is Nerdly Talk or Talking Nerdly? People, I am very glad you asked because I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the kind of things we're going to be doing on this podcast. We're going to be bringing some movie, TV news and reviews because, as you all know, we like to cover everything from the big budget. I'm kind of just like in the zone with that now, but we do like to cover everything from the big budget to the low budget to the no budget, with a special keen interest on the lower end of the scale. You know, I'm a professional nowadays, Phil. We're going to be talking about some wrestling. We've got some wrestling to focus on tonight, which is great because I have been dying to talk wrestling recently, especially with the state of affairs, but we'll be talking about that. We're a couple of gaming nerds as well, so we will be talking about games and other things like that. Tonight's episode, we're going to have a little section that I am calling basically Talking Nerdly, which is with the boss. We're going to be talking a little bit to Phil just to get us into the groove of things. In future episodes, this will be more of a Talking Nerdly. Will be more of like if we have a contributor from the website on, if we have an interview or anything, we'll be sort of get to know that. It'll be Nerdly news kind of thing like that. But yeah, that's basically what this is going to be. We'll get into that in a quick hot second. We're going to be talking about talking Frightfest, which is the Frightfest festival, which kicks Frightfest festival. That doesn't make sense. Okay, but that kicks off on Friday, I believe. Phil, you'll be
Thursday.
Jeez, so we'll be talking a little bit about the lineup and some of the things we want to see there, and then we'll be getting into talking wrestling. As you will see, I have cleverly called all of our sections "Talking Something." Yeah, I thought that was super clever. And then we will be rounding out the show with some talking quickies, and that's not what you think it is. It will be quick reviews of things we've been watching that we might not have necessarily covered on the website. So that can be movies, comics, games, anything like that. Things that we've maybe just not talked about, but we want to give a couple of minutes to. So we'll be jumping onto that later. So, Phil, that was a mouthful.
It was a mouthful.
Let's get on to Talking Nerdly with the boss. And this is basically like some things that we've known each other for a good few years now. You hosted us on Nerdly. Like we reached out. I believe it was Jason Brigger from History of Bad Ideas. Check his podcast out, everyone. Kind of told me that I should reach out and hit you up because we needed a UK platform, and it became Nerdly. And now look at us. I'm the bad smell you can't get rid of.
No. You're you're my, what I like to call my British contingent. You're the guy that you have your hand in all the British stuff. I have our hand in all the horror. Together we make it sort of work.
Yeah, we do make it work. So I got a couple of little questions for you just to get your lips moving and get you talking a little bit. So how exactly did nerdly.co.uk come to be, and what was your mission statement when you started the website?
How long have we got for this? Right, let's start. The easiest way to do it, start right at the beginning. Very, very, very beginning. You know, years ago when you used to have your ISP used to give you like a little so many meg of space to put a website up. And I started writing some bits and pieces. Basically, it was like, this is some cool stuff I've seen on the internet. It was just, that was all it was, like reposting memes or art and stuff. And then Iron Man came out. That's how long ago this is.
Uh-huh.
And for some inexplicable reason, I decided I was going to review Iron Man. Never reviewed anything before in my life. So I'm going to review Iron Man. I got made redundant from a job and spent more time writing stuff. So that was how my first website came about, which was Blogomatic 3000, which lasted until 2013. Because Nerdly originally was supposed to be a YouTube show. There is a hidden. Is it still on? Is it still in the back end? I'm not sure if it's still there.
Ah, yeah. You told me about this, and I went.
Me and my wife sat on the. Well, she was then my girlfriend. Sat on the couch trying to do like a Nerdly news show because we used to watch. Used to be a YouTube show called Totally Rad Show, which was. There was a few guys, but one of them is now the guy that made, is it 10 Cloverfield Lane?
Oh, I just watched his other film the other day as well. Bloody hell. It's gone.
Yeah. He was one of there was 3 hosts, and he was one of the 3 hosts. Yeah, that was how Nerdly started. So it was, I still had my own Blogomatic doing all the reviews and stuff and the news. I got sick and tired. What Blogomatic used to do, news galore. I used to write, so we used to have stuff on the website every 15 minutes. And I got so sick and tired of doing that. So I was like, right, that's it. I'm done. Some of the people that worked for me back then had left. So we were down to like a small, like we are now, it was only like a few man, we were less, like 3-man crew at that point. Originally, I was just going to try and do the YouTube thing. And then I was, as you can probably tell, I'm crap at doing the YouTube thing.
You're not crap.
Right. So, and then, as I tend to do, I started watching random movies on iTunes, which I've just done, which we will get onto later on because I'm going to talk about something. And I found like a little bit of passion for writing reviews again. So I thought, right, Nerdly can be the site now, and that was it. It was just me writing reviews of all the weird indie movies that I found on iTunes. I think like the first film review that went on Nerdly was a film called Noobs. It was about e-gaming, and it starred Jason Mewes. He was one of the leads in it.
Oh, of course he was.
And then I started reloading all Blogomatic stuff onto it, and then from then on, it was just like, right, what can we do that's different? It's like, right, no news. Well, occasional bit of news, but mainly no news. I was like, right, I'm going to do 4 things a day. And now it's like, what are we on? Like 6 articles a day, I think it is.
What the hell? Like, how do you find the time for this?
Well, luckily, it's not just me anymore. That's the good thing. Yeah. I mean, it's cover whatever we like. It really, that's the mission statement. You know, massive nerds. You know, you like your stuff. I like my stuff. Other people like their stuff. You know, you got like Dean likes comics. He does his comics. You know, we all write about what we like, and it just seems to have found an audience.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's great that everybody kind of has that sort of like that little bit of freedom, like you say, talk about what they want to talk about, instead of some of these sites that you go on and they're covering everything that Disney's putting out, and you're just sort of like, they can't love all of this.
No. One of the questions you've got, you're going, you know, it's got coming up. I'll explain why we don't do what we want to do. Yeah.
So in all the years that you have been reviewing, what would you say was your most favorable review? And I like the way you put this, because what I kind of meant was like the favorite film that you've watched and then just instantly sat down and just written the review because you just loved it so much. But then I like the way that you've gone, and I'll let you answer this then.
See, I know what you mean. You the film that you like sparks something. Yeah. There's plenty, and for me, there's plenty of those, because the way I write reviews is it's from a personal angle. I tend to always relate it to something else, which is why I'm terrible at reviewing games, because you can't relate games to it, you know, which is why I really struggle with reviewing games. But the movies, I always find a way to relate them to like life, other things. And so, yeah, writing a review of something that sparks, and you write something. I mean, I've written like 10, 1,500 words on film sometimes because you get that spark. But yeah, when you say favourable, I always think, like I said, part of the thing I say, why we always cover what we want to like, what we like, we cover. It's kind of the films where I've loved the film, and it turns out nobody else really does. So when you say favourable, that's what I think. It's where I'm like really super positive about something, and everyone else is like, "Are you mental?" I'm like, "No, I really love this. I saw something in it, or something appealed to me." So yeah, there's always two I come to. First one, we'll do the opposite around it. First one was a film called Zombie Women of Satan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was in 20. Since we talk about Frightfest later on, let's talk about Frightfest.
Yeah,
2009. I was doing a little bit of work for a site called Screen Jabber. So he was sending me review discs. I'd review them, and he somehow got the hookup with Bloody Disgusting, the horror website, and they needed someone to cover Frightfest. And this guy was like, "Well, I can't do it all on my own. Do you want to come and do it as well?" And it was a paid gig. Like, yeah, all right then. So this was 2009, very first Frightfest. Yeah, Zombie Women of Satan, 2009, British horror film that's essentially a lot of shit jokes, literal toilet humor shit jokes in the middle of a zombie movie. I laughed my arse off at that film. I laughed and laughed and laughed. I thought it was so puerile, so it was basically like, if it wasn't for the fact it was a horror film, you could have shown the thing to like little kids and they would have been laughing at all the fart and poo joke. And I come out of that and I wrote this really positive, because at the time we were coming out of the cinema, getting straight down, writing the review, getting it up as fast as possible. Wrote this really positive review. It's like, yeah, I really loved it. And then people start talking to you in the lobby. It's like, well, that film was absolute shite, wasn't it? I was like, no, I really like that. That was the first one. That was where pretty much everyone who's in that cinema was like, this is one of the worst films we've ever seen. And I'm like, no, this is one of the most funniest horror movies I've seen in years. So that's one of that first experience of doing that. And then again, let's come back to Frightfest. I must have Frightfest on the brain in a minute. And then there's a film called Tulpa, which is a giallo movie made by an Italian rock star.
Very nice. And
it was basically his love letter to Dario Argento and all the sort of 70s, 80s giallos. And it was made like those films. It had like stilted dialogue. It had these really awkward scenes, which those films did have. But people sort of gloss over that because it's like they've invented the zeitgeist of great movies. And so I was like, I loved it because it's shown, I think it's shown a film before that at Frightfest, and I enjoyed that one. And it actually, after the film, I was sitting in the lobby of the Empire writing my review, and he comes up to me because he recognised, he basically talked to me beforehand because he'd seen my other review, and he's like, "What did you think?" And I showed it to him, and he's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "I loved it," but then again, everyone in the cinema hated it so much so that in the end, he recut the film. He felt he couldn't release it in that original version. He recut it, changed scenes, changed dialogue. So yeah, and he sent it to me again and was like, "What do you think of this one?" I'm like, it's just as good as the original. I didn't see the, I get what you've done. You've tightened some stuff up, and some of the stilted dialogue was gone. There was an awkward, it's a mid-film scene that was quite slow that he'd taken down. But yeah, that was another one. I just. Yeah, to be fair, there's a lot of films at Frightfest where I'm the exact opposite to everybody else. It happens a lot, and then there's other films where it's the other way around. Everyone loves the film, hate the film.
I'm finding that with the Romford Film Festival. Obviously, I'm part of the selections and the judging and all that kind of thing, and it tends to be the films that I really gravitate to. Nobody else is gravitating towards them, and I'm just sort of sitting there like, am I the only one that's going to champion this movie? But I guess that's why they want me, because my eclectic taste.
Well, sometimes that's what you got to do. If there's something you really, really feel passionate about, you've got it. That's what we try to do on the site, is try and champion it. That's why, obviously, there's directors where we've I reviewed films for the very first 2 films I've ever made, and they're still now going, "What do you think of this? What do you think of this?" Because we've championed their stuff.
Yeah.
They want to, yourself, all the filmmakers that you talk to, they're always, they come back and they appreciate that people see what they see, if you will.
Definitely. I've got a few that, like, I know fine well that no matter how high they climb, and some of them are starting to climb, like, I know they'll give me a shout and they'll give me that interview. So it is cool. What's the worst thing you've ever reviewed on there?
Again, opposite of everybody else, that classic cinematic film, The Artist. Black and white film that everyone was raving about. So it's one of the best films ever. I wanted to slip my wrist after watching the film. That was so dull, so overhyped, and it was that literally at that point I was like, right, that's it. I'm not gonna try and do the same reviews everyone else does. Everyone's giving these. It's why I don't review a lot of cinematic movies these days. I review the Marvel movies because I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
But a lot of the other stuff, years ago, we'd like, right, well, I'll give it a go. I'll put my money down. I'll see a film and give it a review. But now it's just like, that film turned me off. Sort of. I mean, it's kind of a bad thing, because it's kind of, you're sort of closing your focus off, where it really sort of be open to films. But yeah, that kind of thing. It was like, right, I'm just going to focus on stuff that I like, stuff I might not like. But we're going into it. You see it on paper. You're like, oh, that sounds like my sort of thing.
Yeah.
You might not like it in the end, but I've really stopped going into movies thinking I'm not going to like this, because it's 9 times out of 10 I don't like it. And I know now, I've been doing this since 2008, so I know what I like and what I don't like now. So
you can normally get a good read, can't you? You can, like, not even just like a synopsis or anything. Sometimes you can look at a DVD cover or a poster that gets sent to you, and you're like, that looks like my bag.
Yeah,
not always is, but sometimes it definitely is.
Some people, that's probably why people say I'm a bit too positive in my reviews, because I watch things I know I'm going to like.
Yeah.
You can get disappointed by things that you think you're going to like, but if you watch things you're going to like 9 times out of 10, you're going to get, you're going to be like, that was great.
I'm pretty guilty of that as well. I have to say, I'm pretty guilty. Like, I look at certain films and I'm sort of like, I see, like you say, a director or an actor or an actress, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I love watching films with them, and so I'll definitely watch that. And then, like, I'll write the review. It's pretty damn positive, and people kind of hit back at you, and they're sort of like, dude, what the like, that was a really positive review for that movie, and it's not great. And I'm like, but I liked it, and I watched it because I knew I was going to like it. My last question kind of relates back to the first question as well, with the way you're saying that you're in the foyer and you've written a positive review, but people have kind of like come out and they're not so positive about it. Can you think of a movie that you've reviewed that you were a little bit more positive than you should have been, and looking back at it, you're like, maybe I was a bit too kind on that movie?
No. Things I won't go back. To be fair, half the time, until the past couple of months, I've not really rewatched any movies in years, because there's that much stuff coming out. I'm always watching the next thing. So I don't go back and reappraise stuff. My mind might have changed. The films, films that you watched as a kid that you thought were amazing, they're not so much now. But that's because you've changed.
Yeah.
So I think there's also, like, in terms of reviews, there's a snapshot of time of the reviewer and of the movie and of, like, the culture, if you will. So I don't go back and reappraise. I mean, we talk about Zombie Women of Satan. Would I appreciate all the fart and poo jokes now? Maybe. I don't know.
You definitely would. Don't lie to yourself. You would.
But it's also that film also was the experience of being in a cinema, a massive screen. Do you know what I mean? It's like I gave a super mega massively positive review to was it Transformers Revenge of the Fallen?
Okay.
Mainly because of the cinema experience. Went to see it in IMAX. And there's a little switch in the back of your brain when I watched it in IMAX thinking, that screen's massive.
Yeah.
And it was like, suddenly it's like you're a little kid in a cinema, and you're like 8 years old watching this massive screen. And that's kind of the thing I got from that, watching the film in IMAX. So I ended up where I give it a super positive review. It was mainly based on that experience of being a small person in front of a massive screen. But yeah, I mean, maybe that was a bit too positive. I don't know. No, but like I say, I don't. People will always argue that you've been too positive with stuff, and I mean, some of the. I've been until a while ago. I was doing a lot of films from a British filmmaker called Scott Jeffrey. He's got like I don't know how many production companies he's got. He's got loads of them. Proportion Productions, Jagged Edge Productions. He's co-produced stuff for Champ Dog Films. But his stuff is like full of ideas, even if he doesn't have the budget. And so some of the stuff I've given like really positive reviews to that maybe, looking back on some of them now, like his early stuff might not be. But then again, he must be doing something right because he's got a film shown at Frightfest.
Well, there you go.
But, yeah, like I said, there's a lot. Them kind of things, I get a lot of calls on those that I'm being too positive. But at the same time, like for example, there's a film, Wyvern Hill. I give that super positive review because I got that it was like the Scott Jeffrey did the same thing. They both did films about dementia.
Yeah.
And audiences didn't get that's what it was about. Which is why I tend to don't, stuff I review positive, I might have been a bit too positive, but I won't go back because, you end up, it's bad enough arguing with Joe Public on Twitter about a film than arguing with yourself thinking, was it right, was it wrong,
Yeah.
Besides, like I said, there's that much stuff coming out. It's very, very rare that I even watch a movie. Well, I say that. My wife's always sticking Thor Ragnarok on. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen that at a weekend. But other than that, I don't think I'll come back and reappraise the movie other than Thor Ragnarok.
We are going to move into talking Frightfest. 2022 Frightfest is Thursday night. Well, I thought it was Friday night, but it's Thursday night.
Thursday, yeah.
What Phil and I are going to do now is we're going to talk a little bit about some of the lineup, some of what's going on at Frightfest 2022 in this section, just to give you a little heads up on some of the things that we fancy giving a watch to. There are a couple that I believe we've seen, maybe not allowed to talk about too much, but we have, so we can say, yeah, check that out. I'll give you a thumbs up when we do that. But yeah, let's just talk about Frightfest a little bit. First of all, you've been covering Frightfest for some years now. I've only just kind of like started looking at sort of their films and everything. You've already kind of mentioned how you got in on it, but what is it about Frightfest that you keep going back to?
Movies. It's movies.
Yeah.
I don't think, Frightfest, it's getting completely insane in terms of how many movies they show. I mean, this year, I don't think usually the Discovery screens will repeat things. I don't think there's any repeats this year. That's how many films they're showing. You got your main screen. You got two main screens that are like, I think like 30 minutes apart, so they can do an intro, move into the next screen, do the intro. But on the Discovery screens, I don't think there's a repeat. I think it's like the first year there's not been there was no repeats for the pandemic years because obviously it was all online. But before that, there was always the odd repeat of a big, a film that they thought would be the Discovery screens are like more indie stuff, and there's always a repeat of something they think might be a hit. But this year there's not. But yeah, it's always the movies. I know people say they go to Frightfest for the atmosphere, talking to people and stuff. I'm easily working that hard. I don't talk to anybody. I watch a movie, review a movie, go into the next one. When there's a break, we actually started a few years ago. They built a Premier Inn literally around the corner. It's above Frightfest building. So we started stopping there. So I could run in there, like get freshened up, or if there was a big break when I'd seen a film already, I'd write as many reviews as I could. And yeah, so it's all about the movies. I mean, I've got to give a shout out to the guys that run it as well. The Greg, the PR guy, he's always been amazing. I mean, we even years ago, Paul McAvoy had us go to the horror channel, and we were doing stuff with the horror channel. That was through Frightfest. So they always bring it. Well, like I say, it's always the movies, and I don't think Greg will mind me saying that they appreciate. He said he's always appreciated that I'm the site, if you will. He always knows. Whereas you get some sites will send different people each year. He knows that I'm coming and it's me. I might have some other people there that are on their own, ticket and stuff. Like Alan did stuff for Nightmarish Conjurings and for us, and then I've got Matt, who's going to be doing a few main screen stuff this year. But he knows it's us, and because I've been going since I worked it out. Next year, I have to go to Frightfest because that will be 15 editions. So 2009, there'll be 15. So I've got to go next year. I have to go next year because I sadly can't go this year because you get a new job and it turns out that the guy that you're on a team with, his wife's a teacher and he always has that same year off. So this year I've got Holiday in first. I'll go in and I'm like, that film doesn't sound like something I want to watch. But I have this. I don't have anymore. I had an obsession with trying to review the entire slate of Frightfest. It's too big to do that now. It's way too big to do that now. But when it was smaller, you could do that, and you'd see films that were like amazing. Let's be fair. We've both put a list together of stuff, and there's one film on both of our lists. I probably wouldn't have seen that film if it wasn't for the director's first film, which this is like a sequel / universe type thing. I don't know what you call it, but I wouldn't have seen his first film if it wasn't for Frightfest. And I absolutely love that film, so much so that the director's new film that's running at Frightfest, is literally my number one choice to see above anything else, above all the big budget stuff, above the big names like Neil Marshall and stuff. His film's the one I want to see. It's always been about the movies.
Well, let's get into that and let's start there because I believe you've just mentioned Neil Marshall, big British director. I love Neil Marshall. I'm a big fan of Neil Marshall. And we are getting his new movie. I believe it's called The Lair. This is going to be opening Frightfest this year. And but even better than that, I'm sure The Lair will be brilliant, and it's a spiritual sequel to The Dog Soldiers. But we're also getting a 4K restoration of Dog Soldiers at Frightfest. But Neil is opening the festival. Are you looking forward to seeing this one?
See, if you'd have asked me that before I saw his last one, was it Reckoning, or I don't know.
That was it. It's got his wife in it, I think.
Yeah. That wasn't great.
Yeah.
I was a huge Neil Marshall fan. Going back to Frightfest and the guys from there. Me and my wife sat behind Neil Marshall in a small cinema watching Centurion.
Oh, nice.
It was like a bunch of guys. It was a bunch of guys, the Frightfest organizers, a bunch of other guys from Frightfest, me and my wife, and we sat behind him watching Centurion. I was a huge Neil Marshall fan. But that last film did not do it for me, which is kind of, but his last one put me off a little bit, so I'm a little bit wary on this one. But it's an opener for Frightfest, which usually means, you got something good.
I got to be honest with you, I'd like to be there for that 4K restoration of Dog Soldiers. That film fair enough, it's practical effects and whatnot, but it holds up, and I want to see what it looks like on a big screen in 4K. So, from one movie that you are slightly trepid to watch after his last outcome, what are you? We could maybe talk about the one you just alluded to there, but what are you looking forward to seeing at Frightfest this year?
I've got a big list. We'll get it out of the way. I've got a big list. My number one is Eating Miss Campbell. It's Liam Regan, young director. I gave his first film Banjo a shot because of what he talks about watching Bravo TV, the satellite station back in the day, when they were like a real men's channel and showed trauma movies and full moon stuff, and they had all weird movies. That was, I was a bit older than him, but I still grew up watching that stuff. So I felt that affinity to him, and that's why I gave Banjo a shot. And I thought Banjo really captured that spirit of trauma, the kind of low budget, sort of goofy, gory, funny horror. So, I've been waiting for him to come out with sort of follow up. I know he's had a lot of problems with Banjo, with it, with with the distributor that he had and stuff. And so Eating Miss Campbell, I've been waiting for his next flick for forever. So Eating Miss Campbell is memorable. I mean, I would have liked to have backed it a bit more, but I did put him in on the campaign for that as well. So I am expecting a Banjo and an Eating Miss Campbell t-shirt anytime soon in the post. Apparently, that's the first thing that's coming in for it.
Liam, get on that. Like full disclosure, I can't say too much, but Eating Miss Campbell is bloody awesome. If there is one movie at Frightfest this year that you have got to see, I put all my money on that one. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I was supposed to be doing an interview with Liam this week, or was it last week? But he was away at some sort of South Park convention in Canada, which is amazing, by the way. Did you see the concert that they put on, the Matt Stone and Trey Parker with Primus and Ween?
Absolutely. I mean, it really did, because I'm friends with Liam on Facebook, and he put pictures of Matt, and it was just like, it looked like one. I mean, how he, I love South Park, but there's a whole new level of liking South Park to travel that far across the globe, But it looked absolutely amazing.
It looked fantastic. But I will be circling back with Liam, and we will be getting him on to talk about My Bloody Banjo and Eating Miss Campbell. But definitely check that film out. So anything else that you're super looking forward to?
There's some obvious ones for me. Final Cut, which is a French remake of the One Cut of the Dead, which was a massive festival hit. It was at Fantasia, went around the world. It's sort of like a behind the scenes of making a zombie movie in a zombie apocalypse type thing. I don't know what the French are going to do with it, but that original was so good. They even did they edited them some Hollywood stuff and did a Hollywood One Cut of the Dead. So that's how big the original film is. So to see a French remake, we'll see, I'm hoping it goes for more of the French extreme rather than the comedy, because the French can do extreme horror really well. So, bring some extreme gore in. Still have the laughs, but bring in the extreme gore, please, French. Please, please, please. And then there's me doing that Peepshow, mainly. It's an anthology. It's an anthology film. Don't know much about it. I just know that Jake West is directing one of the segments. And I've been a fan of Jake West for donkey's years. He did an interview for us. He even did it years ago when we were Blogomatic. He did a shout-out video for us and everything. It was really funny. Because he couldn't... I got the raw footage and he couldn't say Blogomatic 3000. He kept getting it wrong. But yeah, no, I've always enjoyed what Jake West... I mean, Jake West is behind the Nucleus Films distribution label as well. So that's... I don't know much about that other than it's Jake West. So, like we say, somebody's name, you're going to give it a shot. They got She Came from the Woods, which... I don't know how to pronounce it. Eric Blomquist. There's two brothers... they made a lot of films. We reviewed a lot of their movies on Nerdly, but She Came from the Woods was a short that we reviewed years ago, and they've expanded it to a feature length. And the short was super. All that stuff's been really inventive, and they work with low budgets. And to see them expand that really cool, I thought it was an amazing short film. To expand it to a feature length, I was really looking. I'll be honest, you can't get a screener of it. They won't give you a screener, so I'm gonna have to wait like everybody else. That's like thing. I would love to see that on the big screen, but that's not gonna happen. Same with Terrifier 2. That's another one. Terrifier was, that became like a phenomenon. Terrifier.
That first movie totally slapped. Everybody got onto that, and it was a weird one though.
Yes, I'm just wondering what can they replicate? They don't want to replicate what they did in the first one, but can they capture that again? Because it seemed to Terrifier was like it's a killer clown. He was in like a couple of wasn't he in like a couple of anthology movies, All Hallows Eve? Yeah. And then they just put him into his own movie, and then can they repeat that success? Is the question. Which we'll see when it screens. If it screens Frightfest to great acclaim, it's going to be another one of those, because I think it's got an audience anyway if everyone's seen the first film. So this is one I will talk about it because it's out in Italy. It's been out for ages. I actually bought the Blu-ray of it, bizarrely. Dario Argento's latest one, which was called Black Glasses, is now Dark Glasses. I don't know what. It was Black Glasses when it came out and was brought. And when you were buying it online, it was all translated as Black Glasses. but it's been released. It's coming out at Frightfest, and I think it's changed the IMDb to dark glasses.
That sounds cooler.
That's, for me, that's Dario Argento back on form, 100% on form, without retreading everything he's done before. Because he's done some stuff where he's kind of retreaded his themes, retreaded the same sort of characters and things like that. But this feels like fresh, but still it's Argento doing a slasher movie with a black glove killer. And it's a mental idea. You know, I mean, he did one years ago with the blind protagonist. And this in this one, it's another blind, you know, the heroine is blind. She can't see the killer. And I might be going back to a previous question. I might be super positive about this one. Nobody else is. But I absolutely loved that film. Absolutely loved it. Loved it a lot. As I mentioned, Scott Jeffrey, he's producing a film, I do believe, called CROC, which is up on Thursday in one of the Discovery screens. So that's a killer crocodile movie. What's not to love about a killer crocodile movie? Everyone loves it.
It kind of sells itself.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, interesting to see how he does it, because Jeffrey's films are always really low budget, like super low budget. So it'll be interesting to see how he can pull off a killer crocodile movie on a low budget. But I know he's been getting more budget because he's been doing a lot of stuff that's gone straight to DVD in America and done well in like Walmart. You know, so he's getting like a return on the budgets because he's doing, you know, his films are doing well. You know, with the garish cover art that Walmart like to do and stuff. But yeah, that's one I'd love to see. There's a weird one, Barbarian. Now, again, don't know much about it. It sounds interesting. A girl moves into an apartment where there's a guy already there. But what's even weirder is it's being distributed in the UK by Disney. Yeah. Wow. I contacted someone about it, you know, and I said, "Oh yeah, well, I've put you in touch with the folks at Disney. They were distributing it." I'm like, "What? They?"
Disney takes Frightfest.
Yeah. It's, you know, I mean, it's one of the closing day films, which again are usually it's a good sign when it's like a build up to the end, and so we shall see. Like I say, that's one of these ones that's completely unexpected, under the radar. Just it piqued my interest when I was told that, you know, I have to get in touch with Disney to talk about covering it in any way, shape, or form, which I thought was really weird. Let's keep going. I'm nearly at the end of my list. Nearly, and then you can talk shit about yours. Pussycake.
I like the name. I'm already
weird name.
Yeah,
it's been billed as like a throwback to 80s horror, and I've seen screenshots of it, and it looks like it stepped out of like Return of the Living Dead, that kind of era of practical effects and stuff. It looks, from the screenshots, from what I've read about it, you know, it sounds, again, it's one of those films it's up my street. On paper, it's like, yeah, that's a film movie. Phil's going to really enjoy that. You know, it's Argentinian, which means there's been some rather extreme horror. Again, like I say about the French, Argentina have been doing some kind of pushing the envelope stuff. So we'll see what that comes around. And then last few honorable mentions: Do Not Disturb, which is from a guy called John Ainslie, who wrote a film called Jack Brooks' Monster Slayer, which was like a parody of sort of a parody fun horror movie from years ago that I really loved. So that's kind of, again, a name that piques my interest. Mean Spirited, which is from producer, I can never remember his name, Shaked Berenson, who's the guy behind Slacks, which was a ridiculous Killer Jeans movie. Turbo Kid, you know, he's been behind some of those sort of off-kilter films that have caught people's attention. So Mean Spirited, you know, it's another name. I'm like, yeah, that's one for me, Mean Spirited. And last two, again, don't know much about them, just sound incredibly interesting. Follow Her. It's kind of like a sort of an online, you know, like deal with the internet and stalking and stuff like that. Sounds really interesting. And then, speaking of stalking, there is Stalker, which is about, I might not be getting this right, but it's a woman and her stalker stuck in an elevator that's going to collapse and kill them both.
Yeah, I like the sound of that already.
I love little. This what was the one called? Oh, it's going to kill me now. There's one a few years ago where it was just two guys in a bar telling each other a story. But yeah, it's kind of sometimes you don't need a lot of effects. You don't need it. Two people telling a story. These two people in a lift. You've got claustrophobia straight away. You've got tension because the lift's going to go, but then you've got a woman and a stalker.
So Scott Lyus is a director that I've covered a few things for. He had a shot in for Romford in Black Mass. This, I believe, is his first feature called Walking Against the Rain. I'm quite intrigued by this, mostly because I keep getting told by people that I have to see it. Apparently, he's made a big step up, so I want to be checking out Walking Against the Rain at some point. There's a documentary about the cult of VHS. To be honest, that's all I needed to hear. Cult of VHS documentary. I'm watching it, so I'm all about that kind of thing. So I'll definitely be checking that out. So they're doing a preview episode of a TV show that's apparently going to be on, I believe it's the iPlayer, called Wreck, from director Chris Bow, who directed a movie called A Bad Day for the Cut and Boys from County Hell. I'm a big fan of this director. Not entirely sure what he's doing a TV series, but I'm going to check it out. But
I've actually had some emails about that show. I didn't even know it was from that. Yeah, I didn't know it was from him. It was emails like, here's some screenshots. It looks ridiculously atmospheric. It looked just from that. There's what's the other one? There's another TV thing they're showing as well, isn't there? With Doctor Who in it.
Peter Capaldi. Yeah, I saw that one as well. Yeah, is that like a normal thing? Has Frightfest done that a lot? Like where they show episodes? No, so this is like a new thing.
Yeah, this is because this threw me because I'm like, you see a list of stuff that's showing, it's like Wreck. I've had emails about Wreck, but it's a TV show. And then I literally I requested, I was emailing about the Peter Capaldi thing, and it's like, yeah, it's an Amazon TV show. I was like, oh, new things this year. There's like I think a guy's talking about British sort of the sex comedies of the 60s and 70s, and even Alan Jones and Mark Kermode doing like a stage thing. They're doing the kind of experiment, I think, this year. So, this is why we're getting a couple of TV show pilots.
Well, I'm definitely going to check out that pilot because Chris Bow, again, Boys from County Hell, that was cracking film. If you haven't seen that, check it out. My review's on the channel. I think I've got one for Bad Day for the Cut as well. This next one is basically, the title alone has got me. Power Tool Cheerleaders versus the boy band of the Screeching Dead. I mean, if you don't see that title and think I have got to see this movie, there is something wrong with you.
Oh yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's got. I left it off my list because you put it on yours. It's a one where it's kind of an obvious one with the title, but it's Pat Higgins who's done a bunch of movies. He's well known on the circuit for kind of taking like a chat thing on, teaching people how to make films on low budgets and stuff. And there's Charlie Bond, who's becoming a little bit of a UK scream queen. She's in that as well, and it's one with the title. You're like, yeah, it's an obvious. It's
straight away.
Yeah, the title's so ridiculous. It's like you can't not watch it, really.
When you talk about Phil movies, that is a very Kev movie. Like, I just want to see it to see what it's about.
I think it's about cheerleaders with power tools, and there's probably a boy band who are dead. I'm guessing.
And my last two, we have a Living with Chucky documentary, which, anything about Child's Play, Chucky, I'm going to watch anything like that because I'm just a massive Child's Play fan, so I'll be checking that out at some point. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily going to rush to it, but I'll definitely be checking it out at some point. And the last one is, I believe it's the closing movie of the festival on closing night. Scott Mann's Fall, which I've already reviewed. I can actually talk about that. It's on the channel down below, so check out the video for that. But yeah, Fall, if ever there was a movie that I've seen this year that needs to be seen on the cinema screen, it's Fall. Like, that will be an absolute trip. No pun intended.
I've seen those screenshots of them with the angles and this. Yeah,
it is incredible. Just the way they filmed that and the way they make you feel physically ill when you're watching it. I mean, I literally stopped breathing a couple of times when I was watching it. But yeah, so that's pretty much what we're seeing at Fright Fest. Is there anything extra? I know you just said about the talk about the guy about the '60s sex movies and stuff, but is there anything extra that people should be checking out, or anything you know about that you should be definitely checking out at Fright Fest?
I mean, I've never done it personally, but there's a late night party that they screen weird clips from movies and throw a party, and I've never been. It's one of these ones where I always put it on the back burner because I'm busy reviewing stuff. But the stories that come out of that the next day are ridiculous. So, I mean, it's not a movie; it's an experience. I've been told I've never, in all the years I've been going, I've always been too busy, or there's been something in, because it's usually on like one of the little screens and something on another screen, and that is apparently is insane. But I mean, to be fair, if you've never been, I know they did. There was a nice little thing they did on Twitter the other day. Basically, Alan Jones put out a tweet asking a few people that I know have been going for longer than I have. Said, can I literally, when we intro the festival, can I have you stand up and be like, these guys here have been coming for years. You got any questions? They'll help you. They'll help you settle in. So that's one of the big things at Fright Fest. They always say, oh, this festival's a family, but you go there long, I mean, I've said before, I don't talk to a lot of people, but, it is like people know each other. There'll be conversation,
Yeah.
I know people people just in passing. It's like, oh, yeah, you're all right, how do you like that film sort of thing? That's the big thing, I think, is kind of the community. If you're a bit more outgoing than I am, then it's probably, and if you're not really trying to be an idiot and review every movie going in the festival. But I think, like I said, there is stuff going on that's not film related that, you can get involved with. I think there's a quiz on, I think there's a quiz on tonight, actually. Yeah, there's a quiz on, put on by another, dare we say it, by another podcast. They put a quiz, but there's always stuff going on. You can literally stand outside the cinema and just talk horror movies for a whole week.
Everybody definitely get down there, check out some of the films we've talked about, check out all the films, and this will be something that we'll be doing on Talking Nerdly as we go ahead. There will be other festivals. Obviously, you've got Grimfest coming up in a month or so, and we'll definitely be covering Romford when that comes along, and look out for that. And then there'll be other sections that we'll be throwing in elsewhere. But now, talking wrestling, I have been dying to talk.
We need a jingle. We need a jingle. Some sort of wrestling jingle.
I keep putting these little bits at the bottom, which is pretty cool. Like, I like that. But we really need like a little transition of like, I don't know, like
a bell. Ding, 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 ding.
You can really tell, and I'm going to pull back the curtain for a second, but you can really tell that I literally just messaged you 2 days ago and said, do you want to do first episode?
Yeah.
That's all the best.
Can you tell that we did these graphics and then the bumper, like, what? 6 hours ago?
Right now, it is awesome to be a wrestling fan. I want to kick off because WWE, Vince is gone. Ding dong, Vince is gone. Triple H has taken over creative. Stephanie's running the company. It could not be a better situation for WWE fans. Personally, I was getting sick of Raw. I now love Raw. I wake up on a Monday morning, Tuesday. Well, I watch it on a Tuesday. So I wake up on a Tuesday morning just super excited to check out Raw. How are you feeling about Raw, man? How are you feeling about WWE in general? How do you feel about that product?
Well, I mean, to be honest, like you say, getting sick of Raw. I took over reviewing the wrestling because the Glass guy, he got burnt out on how atrocious WWE stuff was getting. I mean, and I saw where it was coming from. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I would only watch it because I was reviewing it. If I could palm it off somebody else, I would have done. But yeah. Raw, I mean, at one point, I even tried subjecting myself to Level Up. Have you ever watched WWE Level Up?
No.
No. I've not watched it. I watched like the first 2 episodes. That was it. But no, I mean, it's only been a few weeks, and you can see the change. As I've said, last week's Raw, well, this Monday's Raw, they're putting stories in place. They're not just going, here's a match that tells a story. And there's like here's a little thing that's going to lead on something else. That's going to lead, Triple H is right, and the writers, of course, can't say Triple H. They seem to be putting in long-term storytelling, which is good for the WWE because that gets people back in every week. They want to know what's going on next. I think, the ratings of Raw are going up, ratings of SmackDown going up, but I think what's going to happen, I'm not hoping. It looks like NXT might be getting the kick in the arse because I saw it put brilliantly on, I think it was What Culture Wrestling. I watch their thing every so often, and they said that NXT 2.0 was Vince's idea of NXT to get the kind of gimmicky characters he wanted on the main roster.
Yeah.
We're not getting that anymore. I mean, they've just called up, Johnny Gargano, spoilers, was popped up at the end of Raw as Johnny Gargano. Vince would never have had him with his own name. Never.
How insane was that pop? I lost my shit. I watch Raw's pretty much the only WWE thing I watch. I catch some SmackDown every now and then, a little bit of NXT. Seems like I'm gonna have to start watching all three of them because everything's banging right now. But I watch Raw with my daughter, my 7-year-old daughter. 11-year-old daughter, and we sit down and we watch Raw every week. And this is the thing, like I got back into it because she became like this little muse where we were watching Raw and she was booking the show better than Vince. And she was coming up with storylines, but at the same time she was guessing his storylines, which I'm like, oh man, this kid's wicked smart. Like, but now Johnny Gargano walks out, Dexter Lumis pops up, all these things are happening, and she's sitting there going, I don't know who these people are, and I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, that's why it's so bloody good.
Who would have thought what the other week Karrion Kross would have just wandered back in?
Karrion Kross, man. Just what a... Yeah.
And as a plus point, they're letting him finish out his indie dates. He's promised companies. They're not doing the Vince thing like, no, you're in, don't go on. He's like, no, you've got commitments. You can finish them off, but you're back, And Johnny Gargano, he's played an absolute blinder. Lets his contract run out, spends 9 months at home with his newborn son. Vince leaves, he comes back. Triple H is my pal. I'll go back to WWE. He's played an absolute blinder.
I just love it. I just love it. I'm sitting there watching Raw every week right now. It's only been like 3 or 4 weeks, but I'm just happy to be watching good wrestling. And let's be honest, the wrestling has. That Kevin Owens fight last night on Raw. Jesus, like the wrestling has just stepped up. Kevin Owens versus Chad Gable was a match I never really thought I needed, and it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And the Chad Gable pulling off a bloody flying headbutt. We'll not call it the Chris Benoit headbutt, but it was pretty perfect. And I'm just sitting there like, Raw's amazing.
Which, like, to be fair, NXT, if I keep going about NXT because NXT's got me a little more excited because I know it's bad for the wrestlers, but they're shutting NXT UK.
Yeah.
But they're moving the best talent to NXT.
Yeah.
You've got Tyler Bate, easily, arguably one of the best British wrestlers, going up against Bron Breakker to unify the title. But that's going to be a banger of a match. But the women's title.
Yeah.
You've got, I never pronounced it, Mako, can't pronounce her name, who's got the NXT UK title versus Mandy Rose and formerly Bea Priestley. Now she's Blair Davenport. Please call her Bea Priestley again. Come on. They're having a triple threat, but that Bron Breakker's going to keep the title. Bron Breakker is the NXT guy, which means is Mandy Rose's 300-odd day run going to end and Mako's going to be the unified champion? Because if she's a unified champ, that women's division is getting a massive kick in the arse again because she is absolutely amazing. On Raw, come on, we had the Asuka Io Sky.
Unreal.
Yeah. You've got those who will eventually have a long ass good match.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Bailey's little faction, Damage Control, they're calling them now.
Is that what they're calling it now?
Yeah. Well, who knew we needed Bailey in a little faction? we had Bailey and the 4 horsewomen, we had Bailey and Sasha, but that little faction, that's going to be a kick in the arse for the women's division. I mean,
and the thing that's so funny about that, because a couple of factions are popping up, and I'm loving it. Not that long ago, I was watching AEW, and I'm like, why is everybody in a bloody faction? And now I'm sitting watching Raw, and I'm like, oh my god, I love this faction.
yeah.
But yeah, it's just good to be watching good wrestling.
Speaking of AEW, I was talking with the missus. We're on about the Undisputed Elite or Undisputed Era. We were in a debate whether would Adam Cole stay in AEW with his missus Britt Baker and his mates. You know, he's mates with Young Bucks. You know, they've been doing their shtick for years on YouTube. But Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, I think they were made by NXT. I know they were massive on the indies, but they were made by NXT.
Yeah.
Would, you know, they seem, I know there's been a lot of injuries in that faction and stuff, you know, but there's some people in AEW right now I think would probably, when the time comes, go back. I think that there's some that will, you know, I could see Fish and O'Reilly going back, you know, because they had a hell of a run there. I know that what was the other guy's name? Roderick Strong. He's staying, isn't he, in WWE?
Yeah.
You know, you've got them guys back to you. I don't know if Adam Cole will, but I think everything's literally up in the air right now. It's literally, you know, just a few weeks ago, it was like these guys hate working for WWE. They're going AEW. You know, these guys hate WWE. They're not quite good enough to be on the AEW roster. They're going Impact. I think the excitement's come back to WWE, which is going to make that even worse for those. But yeah, I mean, I just like the fact that WWE is telling stories. You know, they're planting seeds for stories, which I know you're going to hate me for this. I think Impact are not doing. Impact is getting worse for stories. Wrestling on Impact, absolutely amazing. You cannot fault the wrestling most of the time. But their storytelling has gone in the toilet. I mean, I know you're loving Impact right now, aren't you?
I love Impact. I would actually say, as much as I'm loving WWE right now, I do kind of favor Impact a little bit more. It's just something that over the years, even when Impact wasn't great, and I think anybody that works there as a wrestler or anybody that works on the team will admit that there was a few bad years. But even when the bad years was going on, it wasn't that bad. The stories were still pretty good. I mean, the Ultimate Deletion with Matt Hardy and everything, it was nuts, but it was fun. And at that point in time, like, WWE was just dying. We didn't really have AEW, and it was just sort of... But that's why I always stuck with it. It's why I love Impact. But I will 100% agree with you. The storytelling right now, they do seem to be focusing on the wrestling. Like, the focus seems to be on the wrestling. We've got some stories going on, like the Honor No More just keeps moving to a new faction, which but I can't even get upset about Honor No More because Eddie Edwards and friggin' Mike Bennett or Kanellis coming back. Like, I just love Mike Kanellis, and I want to see him like flourish, and I hope him and Taven become an amazing tag team and win those belts off the Good Brothers. Like, I want to see that happen. But you're right, the storytelling, it's a little bit lacking right now. But the main thing that I'm loving about Impact right now, I do love the wrestling, and I do love some of the wrestlers. You know, Speedball Mike Bailey, what an absolute revelation he's been. I was devastated when they took the X Division title off Ace Austin because I wanted to see him go on a good run with it. But Mike Bailey, you just can't fault him.
No, he's put every match he's had has been an absolute banger. It's weird because I think his presentation always feels a little off.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, when he comes out, it just feels off compared to everybody else. But as soon as he starts wrestling, it's just like, forget it. You know, he's I will go out and say he's kind of bringing that X Division. I mean, Chris Bay did it. You know, they're elevating that X Division belt again. It just keeps getting. I mean, in Mike Bailey's hands, it's going to get higher and higher till, You know, I don't know who. I mean, you're saying, you know, Ace Austin, you know, but the only problem I see is they also only have a finite amount of people who can vie for each championship.
Yeah.
Which is why it's like, why are we getting Eddie Edwards again? I know people love Eddie Edwards, but again,
at Emergence, yeah, I wasn't too sure about Eddie Edwards at Emergence. Like, I'm good with seeing it, but you're right. I kind of wanted somebody, you know, somebody new, somebody fresh. Even like give Steve Macklin another crack at it. I love Steve Macklin. Everybody knows
you're a Macklin fanboy, though, aren't you?
I am a Macklin fanboy, but that's because he answers me on Instagram, and he messages me, and I'm like, oh man, Steve Macklin. And like if he does an Instagram live, and I like put a message in, he reads out, he's like, oh yeah, Nerdly's good dudes. So I'll take that all the live long day, me. But yeah, I wanted to see someone different at Emergence, but again, like you say, there's only so many people. But do we really need to see Eddie Edwards again? Much as I love him, do we need it?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm having a pop at the storytelling, but I've just literally I'm writing reviews recently of other stuff, and I didn't love it at first. Masha Slamovich, the ridiculous run of just squashing jobbers, enhancement talent, whatever, over and over and over. But what Impact did, they then let her start squashing actual big name talent.
Yeah.
So that when she came out the other week with the piece of paper, it was just like, holy crap. That whole thing eventually, you know, at first this is just ridiculous, but they stuck with it and they built her, you know, she started beating bigger names till she could just walk out, hand a picture covered in blood, and she's like, yes, come on, I want to see that. I want to see that. You know, that might be what they're doing in terms of, you know, the stories. You know, it's weird. It's like I say, at that point when she was doing those squash matches, like, seen it before, but they had a long-term plan. Maybe they've got a long-term plan now. You know, I don't know what's going on in terms. Honor No More, I could have sworn was going to lose their match and disband because
I thought that.
Is it Vincent, the guy that worked with no shoes on with the dreads and stuff? He's been doing Ring of Honor, so I thought he was, you know, going to go back there and do his tag stuff there, but obviously that's staying around. And then they've lost. They've lost how much talent have they lost recently as well?
Yeah, this seems strange.
I mean, Tennille Jaswood's just been removed from the roster, hasn't she?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. I thought she was kind of like, but I mean, maybe she wants to go back and be Emelina. Who knows? You just don't know.
Don't know anything right now. It's all the landscape in the space of weeks has completely changed.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe a part of why it's like let's just let the wrestling do the talking, and I believe the storylines will come back a bit. The Honor No More stuff, like as much as I love seeing it, and I love those guys as a group, I am kind of like, how much longer does this have until we need some friction? We need a breakup, you know, like, because I'm just ready to see Mike and Maria just go on a tear because I just love them.
I don't know what they're doing with Sammy either. Sammy Callahan.
Yeah, that's just like
he's lost all momentum after that massive injury. It's just, I don't know.
But you know what, man? When they open the show with Trey Miguel, almost every week, you're just like, I am in for the most amazing show of wrestling ever. Because where do you go after Trey Miguel?
I mean, he made the right choice to stay with Impact. He really did.
Definitely. He's absolutely slamming. But going from two companies that are doing pretty well and they are really kind of hitting the ground running with WWE and whatnot, like, what's going on with AEW?
That's the question. Now, recent weeks, you know, I watch every AEW program. Dark Elevation, Dark, Dynamite, Rampage. You gotta watch Being the Elite because they tease stuff on there, and which this past week, Monday's Being the Elite was amazing because we've had all the CM Punk controversy, calling out Adam Page, Hangman Page. On Being the Elite, they had one of the guys go back and go, "Oh, Hangman, Punk's calling you out." He says, "No, I'm busy teaching these guys how to be sexy." He's putting Dark Order like twerking. It's like, is it one massive work?
Yeah.
You have to ask the question, are they that plugged in that the whole thing? Because you've got wrestlers like Dax tweeting out funny, photos with Punk. He's going, oh, he's being really mean and stuff. And it's like, is it one giant work? Is it speculation that, the internet wrestling community, as they like to call themselves, is it just they're over speculating? I mean, to be fair, the wrestling has fallen off a bit, but I think a lot of that's down to injury. They've lost a hell of a lot of people to injury. Sometimes, not every, I'm not going to say every week, but some weeks there are better matches on Dark and Elevation than there are on the main shows. Not every, like past couple of weeks, no, they've been squash matches galore, those two. But you had Ethan Page's last match on Dynamite, which was like a squash match. He'd had a match with the same guy on Dark and gone like 10 minutes, and it was a banger. But they put it on Dynamite, and he squashed him and complained about nobody likes him and all this stuff, But and then these things going on was like some people just rest. Poor Abaddon. She's one hell of a character. I know she spent like a year getting faster, getting fitter, losing weight, learning more skills and stuff. But with the women's division that we see on Dynamite, it needs fresh blood. But she's stuck on like Dark and Elevation, and I mean, though at the same time she might be doing the same thing as Masha Slamovich. She's doing a lot of squash matches. Eventually, might move on to. My biggest pet peeve. This is going to sound really weird. My biggest pet peeve is how AEW are using one particular enhancement talent, and that's Kylan King, female wrestler. During the pandemic era, she was holding that shit down. She was like match after match, really giving it some. And then they went back to arena wrestling, and it was like, see you later. And I don't know if it was her choice, it was AEW's choice, but whatever happened, went back to the Indies, and then she came back last week, faced Toni Storm. She called out Britt Baker, but it's like she's an amazing wrestler, but they kind of relied on her during one time, and then that's my current AEW pet peeve. That and the fact that I think Willow Nightingale should be on TV every week. I absolutely love Willow Nightingale. It's like infectious sort of glorious happiness when she comes out to the ring, and it's like everyone else is really gonna fight. You got Bryan Danielson being an arse, and all these people arguing and that, and then she comes out and it's like, yeah, and it's just like, yeah.
I don't watch it every week, and I don't watch all the shows, but I do like to check out the segments. It's one of the good things. You mentioned them before about the likes of What Culture. Like I can watch Simon Miller talk about it, and he's going to give me all the down low on it. But I just don't know who I'm cheering for at any one point in AEW. I know they've got their heels and they've got their faces, but I'm never really sure who's who with AEW. Like they all seem to want to be loved, but also trying to get hated. And that's my main problem. And for me, where the hell is MJF? Because I don't know what's going on there. Like, again, like, is it all one big work? I just don't know with that storyline, which at one point is what I loved about that storyline. I was like, I've got no idea what he's doing here. He's totally just calling his boss out. And when he shouted down at the camera, when he called him a mark, like, that was amazing. And then he disappeared. And then, like, yeah. And now I'm just sort of like, where the hell is he? Because if you wait any longer, I'm not really going to care.
Yeah. I mean, are they saving him for All Out? I don't. That's the thing with what the hell's going on at All Out, because you've got the All Out main. What everyone expected to be the main event is happening tonight. So what's going to be the main event of All? It's absolutely insane. But yeah, I get what you mean. There's. I don't know if we're all being played brilliantly. If we are being played brilliantly, it is absolutely tremendous because, I mean, there's clearly things going on because if Kenny Omega came back,
Mhm.
but he told a brilliant. He's not injured. He's back on. He's back on peak form. But he came back and didn't work as good as he. And then everyone was like, "Oh, he's come back too early. He's come back too early." That's clearly a work. He's building up from like, "Oh, I'm a bit. I'm going to struggle a bit." He's going to lose some matches. He's going to do the underdog thing, and then he's going to be like, "I'm back on form again. I'm kicking everybody's ass." So is everything that's going on a work like that, or is the? I mean, you've had Conan of all people, coming out saying that somebody backstage who he knows well was like, "This place is," as soon as he said that, I'm like, "That's Santana." Everyone said Santana's been completely unhappy in AEW for a while, and them three, Santana, Ortiz, and Conan they were LAX in Impact, weren't they, at one point?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I do think, I think you're onto something with the whole work thing, and they are renowned for doing a bit of a long con. The whole Adam Page thing, that was like a 2.5 to 3 year storyline before he got the belt and everything, and that was just like, that was amazing. And then you had the whole CM Punk versus MJF thing that went on for a little while. So I mean, they are quite good at doing that, but it's like, in the meantime, I'm just not that entertained, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean,
you're also totally right about the injuries as well, because they have suffered.
Yeah, there's been a load at the same time, but there's just there's something slightly dropped off. I don't know whether it is just the injuries, whether perhaps it's a case of almost like a reset, if you will.
Yeah,
because they brought in all these people and they need to sort of feuds end and stuff. Yeah, but there's also, when you've got injuries, you need to start from scratch. And is it they're on the back foot with with injuries and trying to reset storylines, and or like I say, it's the whole thing just one massive game. when you watch Being the Elite as well, the stuff that they tease in that show, that you have to literally watch the thing like an eagle to catch every little bit of subtle thing that they do. And if people aren't watching that, they're gonna be like, "What's going on here?" You know what I mean? It's a crazy way of doing things, putting it in a stupid YouTube. It is a stupid YouTube show, but yeah, I think they've got an issue with sort of the title picture is very much small groups of people for each title. I mean, they've got the new Trios title, which everyone says Dark Order is going to win that title.
Yeah.
Well, there's a sneaky suspicion that Young Bucks and Kenny Omega are going to make it to the final, and so Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus Dark Order, and Hangman's going to have to get involved at some point for some reason.
Yeah.
Which puts that whole, there's got to be the building stuff on. Actually, I'm Being the Elite with Hangman and Dark Order again. He's been offered the chance to join Young Bucks, and all that, and he's not. So there's got to be something that pays off there, which can only really be the Trios Championship, where Hangman is either going to cause Dark Order to lose, or he's going to help them win. It's it's something that's whatever's going to pay off. That's got to be I think anyway. It's got to be the final. But yeah, as I said in my little thing, I think AEW is literally on a plateauing right now. They can't add any more stars. They can't get that pop from a new star because they've got the roster's massive as it is.
Exactly. That's the other thing, isn't it? So going forward on Talking Nerdly, we'll be talking wrestling, and we'll do some reviews of episodes of wrestling. There wasn't really much point in doing that tonight. It was more just first episode. We will cover the spectrum and talk about where we are with wrestling right now. So that was just us covering like the three main things. I mean, who would have thought Impact would have been like the top three?
Do you know what? Let's just go back to AEW for a minute. If AEW had done one good thing in all these past few weeks, that is Takeshita. The young man's come over. He's on. It's like they have like a thing where they go overseas and they wrestle for a bit and they go back to their promotions.
Right.
He's been doing that in AEW. I'm going to swear, he's a fucking superstar. The guy is. I've never seen him before. I want to watch everything he's ever bloody done. Now, in the past, in the future, he. he's pulled off some of the best matches. He's like a guest star, but he's been in AEW for maybe 4 weeks and pulled off some of the best matches they've had. He's gone back to Japan now, but hopefully, fingers crossed, he comes back. But he's even wrestled over here for Progress, and the guys at Progress are like one of the best wrestlers we've ever wrestled. That's the one thing AEW have done right in this whole past few weeks is Takeshita. I mean, the man. If you're a Macklin fanboy, I can be a Takeshita fanboy. There you go.
I mean, Macklin could have him, so we'll just end that there. But yeah, come back for more wrestling talk as well. We will be doing a bit more of that. We'll be mixing it up as well with a little bit. But let's just move on to what is going to be like our final section of the night, and let's do some what I like to affectionately call talking quickies. And it's not quite what you think it is, people. I know that's what you came for, but it's not quite that. And this is basically going to be a section where we're going to give some quick reviews, just basically anything that we've seen, heard, or played, or anything like that, that we haven't given time to yet, either on the website or on the podcast. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. Do you want to put a time limit on some of this, so like we can only have like 3 or 4 minutes to talk about each thing, or?
Yeah, we can do. Yeah, just fast as you can. Speed round. Talking quickie speed round.
Talking quickie speed round. But I will let you start, and you can talk about your first talking quickie.
First talking quickie. Look, that new animated movie. Have you seen it?
I have seen it around, but I've not watched it yet.
That was surprisingly. This may be blasphemous, but better than Disney.
I mean, that's not blasphemous.
It's not better than Encanto, but it's better than some other recent Disney stuff. Yeah, superb little animated movie about literally about luck. This girl with bad luck goes into the world of luck, and it's very much Disney-ified. It's not a Disney movie, but it feels a lot like Inside Out, that kind of thing, but. I don't think I've had as much fun with a kids' animated movie. I've got to say Encanto because But yeah, look, is superb movie. If you haven't seen it, I think is it streaming on? It's not on Disney. I don't think it's someone.
No, it's not Disney, but it's out there somewhere. Because
somewhere. Is it Paramount or Amazon or iTunes, whatever? One of them. Yeah, I can't remember where I watched it. I've got all the services. I just flick through and go, right, that looks good. Yeah.
I mean, Paramount Plus is putting out some good stuff recently, so that's not a bad thing. But Top Gun Maverick, yeah, was not expecting this to be the vibe that it was. Loved Top Gun Maverick. I'm a big fan of the first movie. When they said that they were bringing back Top Gun, I was kind of like, no, don't want to watch it. But they said Tom Cruise was coming back, and this was back when Tony Scott was, God rest his soul, Tony Scott was still around, and he was going to be directing. Then that kind of went downhill, obviously. But I was not expecting Maverick to be as awesome as it is, and I had all the feels, I had all the emotion, I was ready to go out and fly a plane, and that's all you need when you watch Top Gun movies. Have you seen it yet?
No. All I've heard is good things. You say, what do you think, Tim Maverick? Yeah, excellent, loved it. Wasn't like you say, wasn't expecting, but yeah. But no, I haven't. I've been very slack on my going to the cinema since.
What I will say is, people are riding it really hard in the respect of saying that it's like better than the first movie. It's not better than the first movie. It definitely isn't. It's as good as, but it ain't better.
Yeah.
And Miles Teller needs to shave that tash as quick as possible and never ever have that in another movie ever again, because I was getting some severe pedophile vibes when I was watching that movie with Miles Teller. But I mean, yeah, Maverick, it's a fun night in. Definitely watch it. Definitely get it on the streaming when it comes out. You're going to love it. It's just so cool. The only thing that was missing, and I did notice this, and it annoyed me, Take My Breath Away wasn't in the movie once.
Sacrilege. Absolute sacrilege.
Like, even when the credits came up, I thought, right, we're going to get it now. Because I was sitting there the whole way through, like, where's Take My Breath Away? And no.
Yeah, a tiny little bit of the credits, yeah. Just bump it in, fade away. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, That was annoying. But let's move on to the next one. What do you have?
What do I have? I'll tell you what. Let's stick with the movies for a minute. So, as I said earlier, Nerdly was kind of reborn out of the fact I started watching weird stuff on iTunes, and I've been doing that again recently. I sort of had a wish list of stuff. I put something in a wish list on iTunes, and I'll go through it every so often and go see how much it costs. If it's cheap, I'll buy it. And I've just literally watched two quite old. I think one was 2007, one's 2011 movies. One's called Wieners.
Nice.
Which is about, it's Kenan Thompson from Kenan and Kel, obviously.
Nice.
Who's like goes on the road as a wiener salesman.
I'm sold.
But it's not about that. It's about him. They're helping their friend whose girlfriend left him after appearing on like a Dr. Phil style TV show. It's very. I thought it's going to be really weird. It's going to be terrible, but it's funny as everything. I absolutely loved it. Keenan's character wants to work for the Wiener company. You got Zachary Levi in it, who's Shazam. It's just three guys on the road and like weird stuff they get up to. That's basically the whole point of the plot. But it's funny. It's one of those. Years ago, it might have been called an indie darling type film, but I think it's a bit too. It's a bit too indie darling meets American Pie sort of thing too, which that's a film movie.
Yeah, also a kid movie, by the way.
And then at the same time, I watched another one called At Your Service, which it's a Canadian film, originally called Servitude, and it's essentially. Have you ever seen the Ryan Reynolds film Waiting?
Oh, love that movie.
It's that, but made in Canada with people that are nicer.
A couple of nights ago, me and my eldest daughter sat down and had a movie double bill. We wanted to watch Orphan First Kill, the new Orphan movie. You'll remember the first one with the little kid that ended up being like a fully grown woman. But obviously, because she needed to have that moment of the twist, we had to watch the first movie first, and then we watched the second movie. Again, first movie just better by far. Second movie, they do something very interesting that did kind of throw me off a little bit when it comes to a twist. But all in all, it's just not a great horror movie. It's not a great sequel. Serviceable at best, I would say.
See, I've heard the opposite. Everyone I've talked to about said they actually love that because apparently it's a bit more nastier.
It's a bit more nastier, but do you know what it is, right? So that first movie, the girl that plays, I forget her name, is it Isabel Furman or some Isabel? I'm sure it's that. So like she was legitimately 12 when she made that first movie, and she was playing like a 9-year-old. So when you get the twist and she's actually like a 33-year-old woman, she's at that point in her life where she can, with a little bit of makeup, look like a little mental 33-year-old, so she gets away with it. This movie, she's now like 20. She's in her 20s now, and I'm just sitting there thinking she doesn't even look like a kid. So how are you falling for this?
Yeah.
And I read on the IMDb and all that they were having to like do the whole shooting from certain angles to make her look smaller, and I'm just sitting there thinking it doesn't look right. It was really off-putting, and that was my main problem. Like I couldn't deal with the fact that these people are actually believing that she's a child. I'm like, nobody would believe this. But that is what it is. That was just my suspension of disbelief wasn't working. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan, and I'm glad people are liking it. I'm glad they are. Everybody should like movies, but I wasn't a big fan of this one. I thought the first one was just way better. It was more tense. The kills were better. The twist was brilliant. And the twist in this one was just sort of like, yeah. Well, are you interested in seeing it? Or are you going to check it out?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to have to do it like you said. I'm going to have to double bill it myself because I can hardly remember that first film beyond the twist. So it's kind of, yeah. But like I said, I've heard people saying good things. So, it's on my to-watch list, however long that is. Let's go a little bit off kilter and sort of game related. I dabble in games. I don't years ago, I would, I'd sit in my bedroom and play games hours on end. These days, it's like 10 minutes on the Switch. I've been playing a lot of bloody, what's that power wash simulator thing where you just spray buildings down with a power washer? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's very relaxing. You just literally just like spray. That's not what I want to talk about. Yeah. Actually, thanks to YouTube, found out that if you've got an Xbox Series X, you can now sneakily sideload RetroArch on it, the emulator that runs every system going. And then the Xboxes are so powerful, they can emulate PS2.
Nice.
And PS2, GameCube, the two hardest systems to emulate. So I'm literally, it's still going. It's down here. I've got a laptop that's like on its last legs because you have to use a PC. I've installed RetroArch on my Xbox. It's a simple little thing. You go to some guy, use the browser to go to the guy's website, and he installs in there because he's paid for a service contract thing. But yeah, you can emulate everything. So it's taking forever, but I'm going to give that a go. So we may come back to this later on, but that's
definitely. I'm going to give that a look myself.
Because I've got myself a little, I don't know if you can see it there, the Commodore 64 Mini.
Nice.
And I was trying to play a game I played as a kid called Head Over Heels. So isometric 3D. You play one character's called Heels, one's Head, and you have to unlock things. And it doesn't work very well with the joystick. Because it was a game that was like a combination of keyboard and joystick, and the Mini doesn't have a keyboard. So I'm trying RetroArch. Hopefully, I have a stack of. I've got time to play them, but I'm still going to give it a
go. I love me some retro games, so yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm definitely going to have a wee look.
Well, my wife just wants to play Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg.
Nice. It would be for me. It would be Alex Kidd. I was always Alex the Kid. Outside of Alex Kidd, Bubble Bobble. Love Bubble Bobble. Those two little dinosaurs. Bloody little cute buggers. Loved it. So, probably the last thing for me is, and it's a little bit of a weird one again, you're saying off kilter. It is a documentary series on YouTube. Came out a few years back. We are the champions of indie filmmaking, and we love the big budget, the low budget, and the no budget. I'll keep saying it. It's my slogan, I guess. And this was a 3-part documentary that I found about a movie called Don's Plum that was supposed to come out back in the 2000, no, earlier than that. And it was to star Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire, but this was like before Leonardo DiCaprio was Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah. Tobey Maguire was Tobey Maguire. And it's this whole like documentary that the New York Post did. It's only like half an hour for each episode, and it tells the story of how they made what was essentially going to be a short movie. It was filmed in black and white. It was 90% improv. It was basically like, you need to be here, but it had like Kevin Connolly, Leo, Jeremy Sisto, what they called the, what did they call them? The Pussy Posse or something they called themselves, which I can't believe Leo was involved in something like that. But then what happened was they'd filmed so much that the producers ended up making a feature, but Leo hadn't ever signed off on a feature, and the film basically got torpedoed for years and sat in limbo for all this time. It went to court. Tobey Maguire. It's really, really interesting because it turns out Tobey Maguire might be a bit of a massive asshole in this whole situation, which I was like, Spider-Man is an asshole. No. But yeah, if you're interested in that kind of thing, because the whole thing got totally torpedoed and it took them for years, and then when they did get the chance to put it out as a feature, they basically said, you can have it and you can put it out as a feature, but not in America, not in Canada, not in the UK, and not in China. So basically, all the markets you want to hit, like it basically just ruined the whole thing. And one of the producers talks a lot in this documentary, and it's actually quite fascinating. And I stumbled on it by pure accident because I've never heard of this film before. But you can watch the film on YouTube. I haven't yet, but I'm definitely gonna. So I might come back and talk about that at some point. But yeah, Don's Plum, The Curse of Don's Plum. It's a great little 3-part documentary, and I loved it. Like it's amazing. You review independent movies as well. Like everybody on the site does, and it just it burns my ass when you hear stories about these movies that just get torpedoed and people have put their lifeblood into.
Yeah.
And they're working with essentially friends. These guys were all best friends, and now none of them talk to each other because it's like this situation has just destroyed that. And there's this film that could be like this beautiful little thing that nobody's getting to see because it's kind of just sitting in limbo. So yeah, just if you're interested in stuff like that, check out. It's a good little doc.
My last one is basically She-Hulk.
Oh God.
I'm going to be the She-Hulk champion. Yeah. Everyone. No. Yeah. It's ridiculously stupid. It's fun. She talks to the camera. What's not to love about a daft? It's if ever there was a Marvel film, TV show that was made for Phil, it's Deadpool and She-Hulk. And possibly Thor Ragnarok as well at the same time. The daft stuff, I love the big, the main, the blockbusters, the serious Marvel movies. I mean, Captain America: Winter Soldier is my favorite, and you can't get more serious than that film. Yeah. But just the ridiculousness of She-Hulk. I mean, I loved it. The first episode, it was over way too soon for me. I was like, "What? This is only half an hour? What? Hey!" I want more She-Hulk. I'm hoping we get She-Hulk. I want She-Hulk in every single Marvel movie going forward because I think that I've always loved the character and she's got it spot on. And the whole, I didn't expect the talking to the camera, breaking the fourth wall thing at all. And if we're going to do that, then that's me sold. And I mean, like I said, everyone has come out and said, not another. I mean, it's getting some serious internet hate. Have you seen the?
Yeah.
I
was watching Angry Joe this morning, and he put out a second video after his review because he basically gave it 7 out of 10 and was quite favourable towards it, and people are now calling him a sellout. And it's like
what they call Captain Marvel levels of hate.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I watched the first episode with my daughter yesterday. I didn't love it. I didn't love it at all. But then again, I kind of went into it with very, very, very low expectations because I don't think Marvel does anything good on TV. Like, I don't think any of their shows have been decent on TV yet. The movies are kind of going downhill for me rapidly, but it was okay. I can't rip it to shreds. I'm not going to do that because it is actually doing something, and I can tell kind of what they're going with and what they're going for, and I think why not? So they keep making it. I'll definitely watch the next few episodes. I'll give it the 3-episode challenge, but I'm glad that some people are getting it, getting on with it, like yourself. But I don't understand the hatred it's getting.
No.
That to me is just bonkers. I just don't get that.
Yeah, well, I started, you get recommended stuff on YouTube, and back in the Captain America Marvel days, I was just like not interested in all this hate, So I've only read, I've not seen any of it. I've only read online from Twitter and stuff about it, people saying, "Oh, X, Y, and Z said this, that, and the other," and I'm not going to engage in it at all. I'm enjoying it for what it is. I get what you're saying, right? The Marvel TV stuff, it's not been great, but then at the same time, somebody explained that it's because they were all shot at the same time, so there was no way of sort of like each group of makers talking to each other and sort of so everything was shot at once, and it kind of because it was all quickly rushed out pre or post pandemic or whatever, and right. I think someone said that was one of the major problems is they were all shot at exactly the same time, so there wasn't like time and the kind of the patience that they have with the movies and for the TV shows. But again, these TV shows really are just origin stories for characters they're going to stick in a movie in 3-4 years time. They don't really right now, they don't need to they fulfill a need, people want to watch it on TV, but really they're just like, here's how we introduce somebody. We don't have to spend time in their own movie. We can say, go and watch the TV show on Disney, you know. But I'm going to throw something else in quickly because I just remembered it. If you go on YouTube, and I think it's one of the IGN's many channels, they put out. I watched a documentary this morning, The Incredible MCU, and it talks about how in the late 80s, when New World bought Marvel, they tried to do their own MCU with Bruce, Lou Ferrigno's Hulk.
Nice.
And it's a brilliant. I was a fan of those films from years ago, but it's a brilliant look at how we could have had an MCU, back in the day, because Thor turned up in one movie, Daredevil and Kingpin turned up in the second one, and a woman that may or may not have been modelled on Black Widow in the third one, and there were plans for I think it was plans for Captain America to turn up, Iron Man. It's a brilliant little documentary. It's again about half an hour. It's fantastic. It's I just thought I'd throw that in since we're talking about Hulk.
No, definitely. I do think is it Tatiana Maslany? I think she's doing a decent job. I do think she's doing well. But again, and I know everybody mocked it in the trailers, and I know everybody did, but it's still pretty jarring. Like, the CGI is not great. It's just not great.
It's better than in the trailers, though.
It is better than in the trailers, I'll say that. But when we were sitting watching it, I was just sort of like, even Smart Hulk looks kind of weird. But yeah, I guess that's TV budget for you. But yeah, man. So that was Talking Quickies for the first episode of Talking Nerdly. Yeah, episode number 1. I think this has gone all right. I don't think it's been too painful for you.
No, all good. Waffled on for a lot longer than expected.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, when you do get talking, and we will streamline as we go, and we'll figure out what the niche is and everything. But I guess that is Talking Nerdly, episode 1 in the bag. Wait a minute. Sorry, 2 seconds. There you go. That is Talking Nerdly in the bag. I've got to have my little things at the bottom. The official podcast of nerdly.co.uk, your favourite British home for all of your movie news, reviews, and exclusive interviews. I'm not going to do the last bit. I'll just get it on a t-shirt and just do that. We'll most likely be back. We'll definitely be back, and we'll come back for a second episode. We'll talk about a little bit about Frightfest from the other end when we've seen what we want to see. Talk a little bit about that. A little bit more wrestling. Whatever we feel like we want to talk about. This is basically geared to be around the same as the website. Talk about what we want to talk about, and we'll get people on to talk with us. We'll get contributors from the site. We'll get interviews, whatever, stuff like that. We'll just roll with it best we can. Yeah. Do you want to say anything to close out, seeing as you are the commander in chief of Nerdly, the big boss man?
You gotta say what you say at the end of every YouTube video, innit? Like, comment, subscribe, click the bell, all the good stuff. But no, yeah. Thanks everyone for watching.
Check out nerdly.co.uk, get yourself on the website, read some reviews from all of our amazing contributors and Phil himself. I sometimes do a written review, not very often, but I sometimes do. But also check out the rest of the channel. I'm always putting interviews out, I'm always putting reviews out, and I've got some pretty cool stuff coming. I've been doing some pretty cool stuff in the last few weeks. So yeah, just like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.